I never talked to them boys that sat on them benches. I was in the game on 4th and inches.
Now it's time to go to work.
Bam! Here we are. Time to go to work. You know, before I came live, I didn't realize there's like a million other people live right now. So, like we're gonna be competing, but it's all good because at the end of the day, you are all still on 8637 TV with your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the goddamn truth. The most interactive show on YouTube for a Florida State fan. So it really shouldn't matter who's live. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, share the video, let everybody know we are live. We have my man. It's been a while, but I'm glad to have him back to talk some recruiting, big recruiting weekend. And let me get you the same size as me. Come on. Okay, that'll work now until I figure it out. Can you hear me? Do I sound good?
Oh, you sound good, man.
You sound great. My man Norvell Central in the building. How you been, brother?
How you been, man? I've been doing pretty well for the most part. Not too bad. I know that everybody has questions about recruiting, and the team's doing awfully well right now. So we'll kind of get into that.
So as I'm messing with the screen, give me a minute. But
yeah,
I'm gonna talk to you while I mess with the screen.
All right.
So before we get into recruitment, man, 4-0, 2 big wins.
Yeah.
Arguably the best resume in college football. Like, how are you feeling?
I feel great. I also think that probably both of us should be AP voters because there's no way Florida State should be number 5 right now. No way.
No, I don't disagree.
And I definitely think Florida State has not really played a full 60 minutes of football. I think that's fair to assess at this point. I think the offense has some limitations that they need to kind of work out. And defensively, they've been average. Mm-hmm. That's about what you wanted in this point. But you can't understate that you just beat Clemson on the road for the first time in 9 years. I mean, that by itself is great at that point. So, I mean, overall, you can be happy about the performance of this team, and I think it's very important that fans understand that while Florida State's not perfect, they are 4-0, and a win is a win. So.
They are 4-0, and a win is a win. Look, I feel like we live in the day and age, man, where it's like just winning doesn't matter.
Yeah. And
just winning doesn't matter. It almost feels to me like a pretty loss is more important than an ugly win, which doesn't make sense to me. But if you lose pretty, people will give you all the credit in the world. But if you win ugly, it's, oh, man, they're overrated. They're not this, they're not that.
Do you want to address the comments of, Jason Brown and RJ Young?
Which ones? Pick one. I've been tweeting at RJ Young. I'm just dying to get this guy to respond to me, but he refuses. I don't blame him. I probably wouldn't respond to me either.
I don't know. My 5-year-old cousin probably sounds like deeper voiced than he does. We'll just kind of pass that one a little bit.
But he's he's employed, by Fox. So
yeah.
Fox
has an agenda with the Big Ten.
Yeah. Fox has an agenda. So,
but Florida State might be a part of the Big Ten pretty soon, so his mood may change. So we'll see how that goes.
And then he'll be riding our coattails. Absolutely.
But I mean, last year, and this is something that kind of confuses me. Last year, he was very, very high on Florida State in the polls that he made with the top 25 polls.
You also got to remember he's also a Deion fan.
Yes,
and everything Deion and Florida State, no matter what Deion says or doesn't say, they'll forever be linked. Of course, Florida State and Deion will forever be linked. And so whatever comes up with Deion, it's a way not Deion's doing, but people like him are going to – because remember, last year he wasn't coaching Power 5 football.
Yeah.
So he had no reason to come at Florida State. Now he does. So it's just all agenda-driven, man.
Hey, but you can't blame him. Dion is Dion. He's going to generate a lot of clicks, and he's a very polarizing figure. Like him or hate him, he is who he is, and he'll stay who he is. So
Right. Absolutely. I just think, we can still continue to prove the doubters wrong. I mean, regardless of what you think of Clemson and LSU, those are talented football teams, right? Those are talented teams.
On the LSU front, did Deuce Chestnut, did he actually leave the team officially?
I saw that tweet. I don't know if LSU ever put out an official statement, but
Yeah.
I saw a tweet that said he had left the team.
That is crazy. Just off topic, but that was pretty crazy to me. If it is,
I mean, here's the crazy thing about it for me, and I don't know the situation, so I don't know if it's like a personal deal or he's just tired of whatever. But I mean, he wasn't that great at Syracuse.
No.
So I don't really know what LSU thought they were getting. So I don't know if this is a situation where he's being like pushed out or something else, but he wasn't really that great at Syracuse, to be honest with you.
Considering the Ole Miss game, I don't think anybody should be pushed out at this point. That defensive performance was pretty rough.
That was fun game to watch, but yeah, if I'm an LSU fan, I'm not excited about that defense at all.
Yeah, Jayden Daniels, you're very impressed with, and I think he is a very good quarterback. I think he had kind of a rough game against Florida State in certain aspects, but he has gotten killed this season. Oh
my! Once or twice a game, he's getting not just hit, he's getting rocked. And the crazy thing about him is he gets up like it's nothing. Well, like if that was, and look, I love JT, but if that was JT, he'd be holding his shoulder. He'd miss a drive or two or something.
Yeah.
But this kid, man, he gets up and he just keeps playing. Like, shout out to Daniels, man.
Yeah. Definitely top 10 on the Heisman voting, of course. He's got to be. I mean, unless they just, go down further as a team. But, I mean, if they're a 3-loss team at the end of the year, I think he's top 10.
They'll be about 3 or 4. I think LSU still has a potent offense. Yeah. It's crazy. It's actually crazy to watch those receivers and then watch those receivers against Florida State.
Oh, yeah.
As much as, our defense is this Hyde and Jekyll, or what's it, Jekyll and Hyde, we love them 1 minute, we hate them 1 minute type deal. I mean, for 2 straight years, those receivers that were so hyped and that are obviously talented because you watch them against other teams in the country and they do their thing, all but shut down against Florida State. So,
well, I mean, I can kind of segue into this a little bit more because a guy like Renardo Green, very, very exceptional the last 2 years. I mean, everybody kind of gave up on him, position changed, didn't really know what to do with him. And he's really proven it at the cornerback position. I mean, Jarian Jones has done a phenomenal job as well. Ventrell Cyphers has had his moments. He's been targeted quite a bit. So we'll kind of see how his development goes with that. But when you look at a guy like, with Charles Lester, KJ Bolden, Ricky Knight, you got guys in this defense, CJ Hurd as well. With those guys in the defensive backfield, they've got a new defensive backs coach in Patrick Surtain. And I think this is a way that you can be able to kind of implement him, and you can see the future with those guys being able to perform at a high level like Green and also Cypress as well. What is kind of your thought process with because I know Florida State's got a couple other corners and safeties they're looking at, and they're not finished, quite frankly, with the recruiting side of things there. Do you think that kind of sends a message to those younger recruits and saying, okay, this is what you can get with Green and also probably Cypress being gone after the season, and Jones for that matter?
I hope how do I put this? I hope the message is being sent to the players that are currently on the team.
Yeah.
With the amount of DB targets that they're still pursuing, I think that sends a bigger message to the guys that are currently on the team. Because if we're just being blunt, I think the secondary is the weakest part, maybe of the entire team.
I wish they would generate a little bit more turnovers. That's what bothers me. I mean, they're getting their eyes around the football now, and I think that's very important. But you have to make the next step in being able to really, really impact the passes that are being thrown to the receivers. I mean, I got really tired of seeing Cypress allowing a lot of those slant routes with the in routes that he was giving up. You would like to see more, a little bit, especially in the LSU game early on. You saw those out routes a little bit more.
Yeah. there's a question of it of how much of it is the actual scheme, and then how much of it is that we just need an influx of talent. If I'm being blunt from my point of view,
Yeah.
we just need an influx of talent in that back end.
Well, I mean, you look at the safety position too. I mean, this wasn't something that was surprising. I mean,
I tried to tell people in preseason I was not excited about our safeties.
Akeem Dent is who he is at this point. I mean,
and he's been hurt.
Yes, and I mean, and you desperately need him at this point.
And it's been felt. Yes.
And I mean, I'm not saying Kevin Knowles is the worst thing ever on this planet. He is transitioning from quarterback.
Right. This is his first year playing that position.
He's
coming
very
off of an injury.
Yeah. And I mean, he's got some inconsistencies. There's a little bit of issues there. It's going to get corrected. I think Kevin Knowles is going to be fine eventually down the road. It's going to take some time for him to get adjusted to everything. But Shyheim Brown's done solid. But with him elevating from a reserve to a starter, kind of causes a little bit of issues.
Yeah, I think not to come down on Shyheim.
Yeah.
But I do think there was an expectation that he was going to take that step coming from a reserve role to a full-time starter. And I don't think he's taken the step we all expected. And the problem isn't that he didn't take the step. Well, I mean, that's the problem. But it's the problem's kind of exacerbated by the fact that everybody behind him is super young. Like, I don't think, like if Conrad Hussey, I think, was ready, I think they'd play him. But I think you're not in a
just didn't allow allow them to come in the spring. I think that
right.
was really
because
helpful.
St. Thomas Aquinas doesn't do that. Yeah. They don't allow that early graduation or whatever. So Hussey is still trying to get his feet under him as a true freshman. Ashton Barker, he for all intents and purposes, as I know he was a JUCO guy, but he's essentially a true freshman. He didn't play in JUCO because he was hurt.
Yep.
He's got all the measurables, but he's also playing his first ball. So
yeah, and KJ,
we're just extremely young, man. We're just extremely young.
Yeah, Kirkland's been an interesting piece, but he's also been not healthy. So
yeah, he was banged up in the spring, right? So we got bodies, but they're super young, and we'll just have to remain and see, But I think the message is being sent to that group. I think when you have KJ Bolden and Lester and Ricky Knight, and they're still targeting Jamari Howard and another kid out of Louisiana that I forget his name. Wardell Mack, right? That's his name. Like they're still targeting like elite guys.
I mean, they also have like K Bates as well from Edgewater in Orlando. He's an LSU commit. Maybe that might be something that Florida State goes after. I know they like that Xavier Lucas kid too, 3-star prospect that they like. He's a Wisconsin commit, so I don't know how firm he is in that Wisconsin type of vibe, going all the way over there, being a Florida kid. We'll see. I mean, just overall, I know they got I think his name is Chasen Johnson. He's a UCF commit. He's a 3-star coming in this weekend. We'll see how much interest that's going to be.
I mean, Zaquan Patterson, is that recruitment over? And I don't think so. He said he was still going to visit. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like I think he really pushed the envelope with the Miami. It's the same thing with JoJo Trader, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later too. But I mean, those two commitments were just strange. So
yeah, I spoke on those two a little bit in the sense of it's like they were trending.
Yeah,
Florida State, and then bam, they commit to Miami. I don't know if that was a coincidence.
And
I don't know.
I also got some intel on Trader as well. My sentiment was the same thing as Wostein's. So we pretty much got the same source on that one because it was a person that was very, very in depth with the South Florida area that told me that. So
okay,
I was anticipating that Trader was probably going to commit in his time when he came to visit Florida State. It did not happen, and next thing you know, Miami kind of gets a little bit more involved there, and you saw what happened. So, not saying that money is everything. I'm not saying Miami threw the bag at him. I'm just saying closer to home, it the process. I think he's more comfortable right now with the Miami commitment, which is understandable. So we'll see how that kind of factors in. Plus, you have to think too, Florida State does have 4 wide receivers committed to this program. So,
and they're kind of at this point, like they're big game hunting there. So,
Jeremiah Smith is the main guy there. They are wanting to get him in on an official visit in December. He's wanting to come down for the Miami game. We'll see if that's going to officially turn into an official visit. But my knowledge from what I've been told is that he wants to get an official visit in December to go ahead and kind of solidify that recruitment. I know Hartline's a big guy that he's got a great relationship with there. So we'll see how that factors in. But, yeah, Smith is a guy they really like. I know Miami, they're involved with everybody. I get it. So they've got a couple of receivers on that team I really like. Potentially with Nikar, maybe they might get involved there with Landon Thomas's teammate. I don't think Florida State gets involved too much. He's a 5'11" slot receiver. They've already got 3 on the roster that are like that, or on the recruiting class that are like that. They really want an outside receiver. Cam Coleman with the A&M commit, he might be able to come back for the Miami game. We'll see. But I don't know. It's just a lot going on there. So
let's get into it. Let's not waste no more time because, this is a big recruiting weekend from everything I'm hearing. And I'll be honest, I haven't really paid much attention to the recruiting. Once the season started, I haven't really paid much attention to recruiting. So,
yeah.
Who are some guys that are visiting? I know there's a bunch of guys already committed that's going to be here.
Yeah.
But who are some of the guys maybe that were not committed right now? Maybe a flip, maybe a new guy. Like, what should Florida State fans be on? Have their ears to the ground for?
So a lot of the commits are coming to the game, of course. In terms of 24 kids, there's not a ton out there in terms of just guys coming, other than LJ McCray, who I'm a huge fan of. A lot of fans were kind of giving some flack around saying, "Oh, he's going to commit to Florida." He had an Auburn visit and Georgia visit. He had some visits lined up in the summer, but Florida State elected to have it in October. And everybody was saying, okay, he's just going to commit to one of these schools. Then he's not going to be able to do anything there. It was just a big mess. And they thought that Florida State was just kind of out of it. And coming from the defensive tackle / defensive end, he's kind of a hybrid, looks like a Dennis Briggs type of kid at this point. But McCray's been one of those guys that's kind of steadfast with Odell and the Seminoles here. I think there's a lot of interest, some very interesting developments with that.
Okay, so let's stay here.
Yeah,
you need to talk to me because I'm.
Yeah.
Look, when I look at this class, it is what are we? I think A&M moved up. I know we're top 10 for sure. I think right outside the top 5.
6, right?
6, I think, right outside the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So the class is great.
Yeah.
KJ Bolden, Charles, Luke Cromanholt, Camp. Offensively, I can't think of a last time Florida State has recruited like this on the offensive side of the ball. They are killing it. Secondary, great secondary class. What is the deal with my D-line? I need defensive linemen.
I will
Talk
say
to me. Talk to me.
Booker Pickett, 4-star defensive end, as one of those questions addressed before.
He's out of Tampa, correct?
Tampa. Mm-hmm. Very, very big on Florida State. His younger brother is also very big on Florida State at this point as well. They have went to that campus several times at this point, and I definitely think that this is a kid that Florida State can definitely get involved with. The team that scares me in this whole recruitment with him is Ohio State. I think Ohio State kind of makes me a little nervous in that recruitment. Okay. Miami does too, a little bit. Ohio State's kind of the main competition in that recruitment that scares me quite a bit.
Has he visited?
Yes, he has visited.
Does he have another visit planned?
Yes, he does have another visit planned. He has not utilized his official visit yet to Florida State. So it'll pretty much, if I had to take a guess, it was probably going to be the December. They're probably going to try to get him in December. Yeah. They
feel like that
possibly the Miami game. But
yeah, I feel like that November 11th game might be one of the biggest games in recent memory
for Miami, because I do think that kind of brings home that he needs with this. But just overall, I think Florida State's got to definitely take advantage of that. I definitely like D.D. Holmes. I think he's a very good kid. I think they really struck.
I like D.D.
I do like Jamori Flagg, but I know others are kind of indecisive about him at the defensive tackle position. But I definitely think we need to add more. Artavius Jones is a good get for Miami. I don't really think Florida State's going to get him. I think it's literally LJ McCray and Booker Pickett or bust.
So there's a lot of talks about when you say Artavius Jones, that's the kid that is close to
He's from Bluntstown.
So he's close to Tallahassee, and
Mm-hmm.
and there was a talk that Florida State was working to flip him, and now that's not.
It's very, because it comes from a small classification too. I think he's a very good player. I think he's just what Florida State needs in this regard, but it just seems like Florida State's just lost. Like you thought there was a lot more traction than what there was, and then all of a sudden it just goes off the face of the earth at this point.
I don't like that.
White is another guy I like. He's a 3-star prospect. We'll see. I mean, but Florida State's got to add linemen in this class. They have 2, but I definitely think they need at least 4 in this class to kind of solidify the losses of potentially Jackson. You have Fabian Lovett that is going to leave. Braden Fisk is going to leave.
So I'm personally less worried about my interior guy. But I do my edge. I'm more concerned going in the future about my guys. I mean, off the top of my head, I can only think of who's Lamont Green. Like, is that who else do we have outside of Lamont Green Jr.?
Byron Turner at this point in his career.
Yeah, but my Byron Turner's not a senior, but he's a seasoned player.
Yeah,
I know he still has years of eligibility, but I'm still who's that young player we're looking to make the next step is my concern, I guess.
Yeah, I like Jaden Jones, but we'll see. I mean, it's a lot because, I mean, literally they came to his practice and he was already hurt. So, I mean.
We don't know what he is. Yeah, he has the measurables. He looks the part, right? But is he going to.
Yeah, and Lamont Green, will he actually, develop his weight a little bit more?
He's got to fill out his body. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of questions with the edge guys. Where I'm at least with my interior guys, I know I got Daniel Lyons and Tafasi waiting, And
I mean, next year you got to hope that Gilbert Edmond can step into that leadership role as being the last starter there in his senior year. I mean, that's a question mark by itself.
Yeah. Does Dante Anderson take a step? So
yeah,
there's some questions. There's some questions on the D line, and I don't know, man. I think my D line recruitment isn't. I needed to be better. Let's just say it like that. I needed to be better.
And I'm not going to say like John Papuchis has absolutely just missed in certain things, but I will say that culture fault recruitment really hurt.
It hurt.
A lot of people can realize.
Yeah, that missed.
That was that made you a little sour on that. And I'm typically pretty positive, but that was a big miss by this. So
the hopes is that LJ McCray. Like, if we can finish this class off and get Pickett and McCray, I'd be fairly happy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You would run with that all day long.
Yeah, I'd be fairly happy. So that's D-line. You said there's nobody else in the 24 class that's going to be there this weekend.
I mean, not really. There's not that many people that are coming, like, in terms of, like, unless you're talking about strictly 25, but.
So a lot of 25 kids are.
Yeah, I like Zion Grady. He's a 5-star defensive end. They've got to nail that kid. I mean, he's from Troy, Alabama, so it's basically going to be Auburn, Alabama, Florida State for that recruitment. A little bit of Georgia, but Florida State's definitely got to hit home with that because they need to get him out of the state. You got a guy like Zaire Addison as well. He's from Riverview, offensive lineman. He's a 4-star offensive tackle. I really like him. He really likes Florida State. Florida State's pretty much his main top school in his recruitment so far. Alex Atkins has got to get involved with the offensive line. You've seen a little bit more of the offensive line that Florida State's had this season in terms of their technique and run blocking schemes have not been great. But I do think that this is the time that Alex Atkins can kind of hone in on some of those recruits and kind of get some more guys in here. So
how is the O-line looking in terms of recruiting? I know got a solid class right now. I know they're still trying to flip Zamandela.
Yeah, and you also got Derek Plaz as well. He's a Miami commit. He's an interior offensive lineman / offensive tackle. I don't really know where they're going to put him with this. I don't really think he's all that great, but I do think it's worth mentioning that Plaz is going to be on the visit this weekend as well. So we'll see. I mean,
a body, if nothing
Yeah,
else. He's a
yeah,
body.
and I don't know. I mean, that's the same thing with the Jaden Todd thing as well. We got him. I think it's more of like a developmental piece.
He's definitely developmental, yeah.
But I mean, you can get him there. I mean, same thing with Andre Otto as well. I think there was a lot of which they really like him now. So it's just a big question mark with that. Recruiting is still going strong. I mean, you got Jonathan Daniels in this class. And I think
you got a big boy, and you got Jonathan Daniels. You got how do you say his name? I don't know how to say his name. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Tate. Yeah.
Tate. Okay. So yeah, I agree. You got a solid class right now in the O line. Definitely add some more guys. And that's the interesting thing about recruiting. Talking about recruiting right now, because if you really look at we've already mentioned D line, but if you look at every other position, it's almost like they've got wide receivers.
Yeah.
They have their two running backs.
Yep.
Who complement each other very well. They have their quarterback.
Yep.
They have their tight end.
Yep. And I will address
secondary loaded. I mean,
yeah, they were wanting to go after Kylan Fox, but there were some situations going on there. Fox was really wanting to be that number one option there. Landon Thomas was already the number one option. There was just a lot going on.
At this point, Fox, do you?
Yeah. Now he's a very, very talented kid. I'm not.
Yeah, but
yeah, I'm not.
He was a luxury at that point.
I mean, and I mean he liked Florida State, so.
I mean, look, you chose UCF over Florida State. Good luck to you. If you haven't, if Fox hasn't been watching, it don't matter who. I mean, Jaheim Bell, Morlock, all of these guys are getting plenty of targets and plenty of opportunities. So I don't know why Landon Thomas being here would deter him.
And I will say this too. I think Randy Pittman, which used to be a former Florida State commit, I think he's really good. I think he's going to be a really good tight end for them in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and they already have a tight end commit. So yeah. Maybe I don't know, but good luck to him. Good luck.
Yeah. I think he's going to be a really good get for UCF. I think he fits what they want. Can play on the slot a little bit as well. So it's a versatile piece. So we'll see.
So let's talk about. Let's see. So that's this weekend. So not a lot of new recruits, mainly just the guys we got committed coming to basically solidify. Like, yep, we're still riding with the Noles, so that's always good to see.
Yeah.
Any guys currently committed that you would say, like keep an eye on? I feel like the class for the most part is pretty solid, but I live in the real world, and there's always going to be a guy or two that does something else.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people were talking about McCoy before then, Wayne McCoy. I know that was a name that was kind of popular, and I know that UCF and Miami were getting kind of involved with this and everything. But just overall, though, I don't really see a whole lot of movement with this class, specifically just because of Florida State being what they are this season and how they are. They may push a couple of guys out that they may have
let's speak on those. Who
kind of like I talked before about the offensive line.
So if they can get some other guys, they might push some guys out on the O-line.
Yes.
You don't got to say anybody specific. I know you have relationships and all that. But that does make sense to me.
And it just depends too. I mean, if they want to get someone more in the interior, maybe I think they could add another linebacker possibly. I do like Samir Collins.
We got two right now, right?
Yeah. Jaden Parrish, I am a huge fan of. I really like the take with Jaden Parrish.
Okay.
I think that was a home run get for Florida State. I think he should be a low 4-star prospect right now, and he's not. So, I don't think McCoy is flipping either. I just know that there was a sense of Florida State.
Yeah, at one point.
Now he's kind of solidified that recruitment, and he is all aboard on the Florida State train at this point.
Okay, so
the
game. Go ahead.
What do you think with the linebacker position as it is? Do you think that Randy Shannon adds another line? I know that his track record in recruiting has not been great the last couple of years, and the linebacker recruiting in general for Florida State has not been very great. So, what are kind of your thought processes on that? And do you think they would add another person? I mean, because really, the only person they have on the board really is Michael Bojanowski, and he's from Kansas. And I mean, well, you go to Kansas.
That would be my question. I don't know what our board looks like.
Yeah.
And again, haven't followed recruiting much since the season started.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't take another. Let's not take another body unless it's a legit, surefire guy. And I don't know if that guy's even being targeted or even interested. So as far as I'm concerned.
So I'll mention this to you. So I know Florida's got 4 linebacker commits.
I need one of them.
I'm not even going to say the position itself is that important anymore. But I am saying that you do have Deloach as well as Bethune leaving this upcoming season as well. So you kind of have to replace that production. I think Lundy can be the one to step up, but who's going to be your number 2 linebacker? Is it going to be,
is Omar Graham going to be ready?
Yeah.
Is Blake Nicholson going to be ready?
And I mean, that's a big question mark. Not saying that linebackers really matter, because I do think we only use 2 linebackers in our defensive scheme.
We only lose about 2 at a time. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the thing you have to look at. I mean, I kind of factor in too, like last year with D. Creighton, for example, a 4-star linebacker, committed to Clemson, ended up signing with Clemson. He originally told me, because we had a pretty good relationship, he was like, man, I wish that I would have gotten involved more with Florida State. Wish we were communicated a little bit more. And it frustrated me, man. I was like, D. Creighton is a really good get for Clemson. And I thought that Florida State could have been involved a little bit more.
Here's the thing: when people say I hate Randy Shannon, I don't hate anybody. But here's the deal: Randy Shannon has a reputation going back years of. That's why they call it the Randy Shannon special at that position. He targets a specific type. He doesn't, for better or for worse. He's not really a star chaser.
He's a developer for sure.
He likes to look at it. Yeah, he wants to look at a guy that he feels like he can mold and take that. At times, I'm sure that's worked for him. At times, it's kind of like, okay, that's awesome, but you can't pass up like the guy you're talking about, right? So, I don't hate anybody. I just call what I see, bro.
So I mean, I don't really think it would have been necessary to take a guy like Zach Smith, from Red Oak. They were looking at him for a while. He committed to SMU. And, I mean, they had another guy, Xavier Hamilton. He's from Navarre. They were looking at him for a while, too, and he committed to USF, excuse me. And I think that those 2 guys, I mean, I don't really think they moved the needle in terms of just production. I mean, I think DeMarco Ward is a decent player, but, I think it's okay to take those guys every once in a while. I think Hickman Collins is pretty good. I think you can see the potential there. I mean, he had over 100 tackles last year, so in high school. So we'll see how it kind of factors in. But I mean, as you talk about, you can't take too many of these projects because in reality, they're not going to pan out most of the time.
Well, it's not even that they're not going to pan out. Some need longer development than others. That's my issue. And we live, people got it like Bethune and Deloach are gone after this year. So somebody's got to step into their role. It'd be nice to have some kids that can just come in and play right away. That's kind of my thing. Like a DeMarco Ward might turn out to be a fine football player, but if it takes them 2 or 3 years to get there in the era of the transfer portal, do we even reap the benefits of that, or does another team reap like Johnny Wilson? Arizona State never got to see what Johnny Wilson is. We reap the benefits, and that's my issue with that.
I definitely think we take another transfer linebacker.
I think, and that's the thing I think some of these coaches are maybe kind of getting away with. Like, okay, we can still always go to the portal and find us something.
Yeah.
And Bethune was one of the better gets we've gotten out of the transfer portal. So.
And I will say this too, and we didn't mention this before, I definitely think Justin Cryer is going to be a huge contributor next year. I think he's got the size to be able to be successful. Coming from Northwestern, I know what you're talking about. Is just for the people at home, watching. But I definitely think that he is a guy that Florida State really likes in terms of size.
I'll wait and see on him too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean Brian Courtney transferring over.
He's the guy because Courtney has. When you're talking about being athletically gifted, he is by far, from what I've seen, the best athlete in that room.
Mm-hmm.
The question becomes, is he an instinctive linebacker, right? That and those things. But I think by far he's the most physically gifted. And if he puts it all together, I think Courtney is a player for sure. I've always been a fan of Brian Courtney, so I'm very much look forward to him.
Yeah, and I thought we could have went after like a Edwin Spillman as well. He's from Tennessee. He committed
not Courtney.
Tennessee.
I'm talking about Courtney. I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about the other Nicholson. I meant everything I just said. I meant Blake Nicholson.
But I mean,
Courtney's not the guy I was just talking about.
Courtney was, he did play a little bit of linebacker. He played mostly defensive.
Yeah, I remember they moved him, but we're still listing him as a tight end. I don't even know what's going on with Courtney, to be quite honest with you.
He's still playing technically tight end right now. So
I guess they're just doing two things with him. But all that stuff I just said, I actually meant about Blake Nicholson. I apologize. I got the two confused.
He's got to get better and that play that he had against Southern Miss, where originally when I was at the game, I thought he caught it. He was going to get an interception there, but unfortunately he stepped out of bounds. But just overall, I mean, that was very encouraging to see. With that.
Yeah. So who are the big names left on the board? Obviously, everybody knows the biggest name, but somebody asked the question up in the chat. I forget. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody said,
you talking about Mincy?
Mincy, yeah. Is that a name that they're looking at? Like, so who are some of the big names left out?
Yeah, I mean, they're looking at him. I mean, like we talked about before, I think Jeremiah Smith is at the very, very top of what they bring to the table at this point, a 5-star receiver, Ohio State commit. You got Jamari Howard, I think, who's very high up there as well. They're kind of waiting to get him on official visit in December. They are trying to push the very last time because he is wanting to wait until signing day. Even though those crystal balls have come in, I definitely think that Florida State's definitely involved there.
Yeah.
You kind of look at some other guys as well. LJ McCray is another guy we talked about before. Booker Pickett. I think there's a couple of guys out there that you can kind of look at the top of the board. But Florida State's going big game hunting at this point. They already have two fits in the class.
What do you know about this kid that just decommitted from Georgia Tech today? I heard we haven't even offered this young man. Is there a reason for that? Is he just not interested? Are we just not interested? I mean, he's a top 60 player, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, but I definitely think the staff they don't really do. They evaluate really well in certain positions, and I think some positions they don't really get out as much as they need to in certain regards. Not a shot on the staff. I just think that there are certain positions that are lacking in terms of getting those early evaluation offers out there. And I think once you get to that point, you're like, man, he's already got 26 offers. I don't really think we have a chance. And it's great that they're not wanting to waste resources on a guy that they're probably not going to go after and be very, very involved with. But you need to at least kick the tires on certain people to go ahead.
But this is correct me if I'm mistaken, he's a South Georgia kid.
Yeah.
Like that's inexcusable, man. That's our backyard, or at least it should be, So.
And I will say this about JP as well. He does go after a lot of prospects that are 6'5", 6'6".
So that is true. When you look at the body types that JP does like to recruit at that position, you're absolutely right there.
So I mean, DMV area, he's really big into as well because he is originally from the area. So that is kind of his location with the staff. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. But just overall, defensive line recruiting, as we talked about, is quite a mess in certain regards. If we don't get two of our targets, and maybe we might, get involved a little bit more with some guys later on in the process. Like maybe it might just be a guy that decommits and we're on him pretty quickly. But
right,
knowing Florida State's track record, they don't really go after guys later in the process that just decommit and offer right away, and then kind of get involved. So,
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I haven't followed recruiting too much since the season started, because I mentioned it. I felt like they really got their class solidified in August.
Yeah.
And everything from here on out is kind of like icing on the cake. There's obviously some targets left, but I mean, your class is kind of what you see right now, I think. That's really been the trend since Mike's been here.
Yeah, and I mean
they pretty much get their guys in the summer.
Yeah,
and then during this, then you might add a AZ at the end of it or a Hakeem in September. But for the most part, I can't think of any like big recruitments Florida State has won during the season. Hakeem was the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
And I mean, that's the thing. That is college football recruiting in a nutshell now at this point.
Yeah.
And literally, you're going to get every guy in there December and February. Specifically, February is not even going to matter at this point because most kids are going to early enroll, or they're just going to solidify everything in December and be done with it. So,
watch out.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Wasn't even going to ask you that.
Well, if you go on Twitter, you can pretty much see it pretty quickly.
You'll find it.
You'll find it pretty quickly. But yeah, it is crazy, man. Because like somebody mentioned it before with Weinberg, I think that's a guy too, man. It's like Fitzgerald has been very, very consistent this year. I'm not gonna say his stats because I'm not jinxing anything. I'm not.
He's been good.
Yeah, he's been very good. So I definitely think that this can be a guy that can come in right away, be successful as soon as Fitzgerald leaves Florida State. And I definitely think he could be a guy that kind of transforms your special teams in a positive manner. So
I feel like for the most part, that's kind of like the gist of recruiting. There's some. Yep. So since we got you here, I don't know how long you got, but since we got you here.
What's up?
I mean, we talked a little bit about the season, but let's talk more about this actual team. We'll maybe talk a little Virginia Tech, but before Virginia Tech, I want to ask you, like, who, player-wise, who has been a surprise and who's been a little bit of a letdown for you so far?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and start with the bad news first.
Okay.
Letdown, I thought Destin Hill was going to be a little bit more involved. They have not thrown his way, even though he has been wide open. On a couple of occasions. They have not utilized the slot as much as I would like. I'm hoping that Ja'Kai Douglas coming back this week, I'm hoping kind of helps that process. Vandrevius Jacobs is also another guy I'm a little bit more concerned about. You hear him all about the spring, and then next thing you know, he's got one catch against Southern Miss.
I think I got a couple parts to go with this. So I'm glad you brought this up. I'm going to start with Vandrevius Jacobs and these guys. Mm-hmm. I think we get into the spring and these freshmen are playing kind of at a necessity. Yeah. I mean, like the spring is where you want to play a freshman. I don't need to roll Fabian Lovett out there to get him hurt, right? I know what I got there. I think we get so infatuated with the new toy, and then we get disappointed that the true freshman isn't playing during the season, during meaningful games. So I would not worry about Vandrevius Jacobs personally. Now, I do also understand the transfer portal era is always in the back of everybody's mind, and they feel like if a freshman isn't playing, there's always that threat. I don't know that. I would just say I'm not worried. You mentioned not utilizing those slot-type receivers, though. Is that Norvell or is that Travis? What do you think?
I think it's more Travis to me.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
Mainly because, I mean, when you injure that shoulder at that point, you really don't want to take too many chances throwing in the middle of the field, taking injury risk. I mean, you're trying to get the ball out quicker. There's just a lot of factors going into it. It's just kind of confusing to me. I think once he gets a little more healthier, I think he's going to be fine. But I think he's also forcing the issue a lot as well with the Heisman campaign, trying to get his name out there, trying to get the stats up, trying to go for bigger plays. I get it.
I think I'm going to be honest with you. I think the LSU game ruined him. I think he got so infatuated with what Coleman could do. He's never had that before.
Yeah.
And I think
it's nice to not throw a jump ball to Micah Pittman.
Right. And I think he realized, I got a guy who literally can just go get it at any time. And it seemed like he just did that for the next 3 games. My hope is coming off the bye week, they've reeled that in and say, hey, man, utilize these other weapons. So we'll see.
Yeah, I just don't know. And I mean, you got a guy like Winston Wright, too, that they haven't utilized as much. But I definitely think his is more mental hurdle more than anything. They've done a really good job in trying to get him in on special teams, like a Sam McCall. I hate to say it. But, you got to get him utilized somehow. And I think that's a big factor in what they bring to the table. So,
okay, so who have you been pleased with?
Personally, didn't think that Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson can coincide as much as they did. I know Johnny Wilson's got some drop issues that
Johnny's fine. Johnny's fine.
But he'll get there.
Johnny's
I'm
fine.
not too worried about that.
No.
I was actually a little bit more pleased, and this is probably my MVP so far this season, is Joshua Farmer. I definitely think with him being on the defensive tackle, he has exceeded expectations. So super excited.
Farmer took the step that was needed.
Major.
I don't know if I saw it coming this way. I was concerned that the offseason shenanigans with him kind of took his focus away. I think that was my concern, like the offseason shenanigans of hitting the portal and doing all these things that he did, and we don't have to get into it.
Yeah.
But no, he came in this season ready to play, and him and Fisk, you can pick who's been the better one. It's one of those two, him and Fisk.
I'm a huge fan of Bless Harris as well at tackle.
Bless has been
phenomenal on pass blocking, run blocking, the whole.
Yeah, pass blocking, he's been great. Yeah.
But I can say that I'm I'm disappointed in Trey Benson, but he'll find his way. Virginia Tech is I think 100 in rushing yards allowed this season. It's 177 yards a game. Benson will be fine. He'll get back this week. I think he'll find his groove with that. So I'm not too worried about that. I think Hill is going to have some carries as well. I would not give up on Benson right now. I think Benson's going to find his way. There's some defenses out there. Legend has it Kentucky's running back still running to the against Florida. So I think we're fine. Miami's going to eventually wear down a little bit too. I think they're 5th in rush defense right now.
I'm interested to see Miami and ACC play.
Yeah, and I just definitely think there's a lot going on. I think North Carolina, as they've seen, because North Carolina also ran 300 yards against them. So we'll see how that factors there. So
yeah. But
I just think overall, I haven't seen many heavy contributors because I really think that like a Lundy, I expected Lundy to take that next step forward. I thought that he was going to be that guy to make that elevation because he has to. I mean, he's got to be the guy. So I mean, Renardo Green's who he is. I thought Cypress, especially considering how he performed in the spring, was not going to be that great. He's okay. It's who he is. Shane Brown's who he is.
Even with guys, what do you think about because I've had a big time discussions on Jeremiah Byers.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on Byers?
I think he's fine. I think he'll be okay. You would like to see him more at guard because he did play guard at UTEP, but overall, and he played tackle as well. But I just think he's more suited for a guard position rather than a tackle. I still think he's fine. I don't think you're going to just cut him out of the starting lineup or even put him at guard. I think they're going to stick for what they are at this point. He's been playing right tackle this whole entire time at this point. So I definitely think you got what you got with him. And I don't really think there's a better option unless you get a healthy Rob Scott.
I agree with that. If you don't have Robert Scott.
There's no other – Armello's okay. I get the Armello thing. I understand. But he's not ready.
Right.
That's just how it is. Lucas Simmons, same thing.
So what's your thoughts on a guy that I'm a huge fan of, and I'm kind of again, I'm just a light-skinned dude on YouTube, man. So I'm not in the know of anything. But whenever I watch him, Keandre Jones, in my opinion, should be starting. And that's not a knock on Meach.
Yeah.
I think Meach is solid.
Yeah.
But Meach is 6'2", 300 pounds, and Keandre Jones is a monster of a man.
Yeah, I definitely think that Jones should be starting in certain games. I think he should be situational more than anything because I think he fits better in certain schemes against certain defenders, especially LSU with their bigger defensive tackles. You need to push bodies around. You need to play. Same thing with Florida at the end of the year. I think Jones play in that game because I definitely think that he brings more of a physical presence to what it is the guard position. So, but would you put a Darius Washington at guard over Meach? It's what I mean. Man,
I would argue, and I know they won't do it, and I'm not even sure they want to do it. I would argue I could throw Darius at that tackle and maybe push Byers inside. I have not been impressed with Byers. He's been very up and down for me. And
Really?
again, and like Xavier Thomas whooped Byers all day.
Yeah.
All day. And
But
Xavier
yeah.
Thomas is, I know he was a highly rated guy, but he's a
Yeah.
6-year football player. Like, he hasn't been that great. A lot of potential. I don't know if after 6 years you have a lot of potential, but
yeah, I mean, he was there when the dinosaurs were here.
so. Exactly. Yeah. So my thing with like Byers is he's had moments where I'm like, okay, and then moments where I'm like, get him off the field. So I would argue I would put Darius there, but I know they're not going to do that. Darius is too pivotal and too important to the rotation, and that you don't start him, right, unless it's absolutely necessary. So
really, the only two guys I can really see on that offensive line that should not change is pretty much Wes Harris at tackle, because I think he's been one of the most consistent offensive linemen you have, and probably Murray Smith, just because he's the only one that can snap the ball at a consistent level, which Darius can, but do you really need him at the center position if you got other two guard positions and a tackle that probably needs to be filled? I think Casey Roddick has been fine.
I do too. I don't know why he gets some of the hate he gets.
I mean, he's not really used to winning either. I mean,
the guy played at Colorado last year.
Yeah.
Like, he's been solid, man. He's been solid.
And I mean, Byers is fine. I mean, he's a fine player. I know the PFF grades. I think he's down to like a 52 overall PFF grade. Great. It's not something that's great to hear, but PFF grades, they can be deceiving at times.
They are interesting.
Yeah. So it's like, what do you believe? Do you believe a PFF grade, or do you believe performance on the field? And while he didn't look great against Clemson, and Xavier Thomas basically had his way, I mean, he has had moments of showcasing what he can be.
So what about AZ? What's your thoughts on AZ so far? A lot of people want AZ to take that next step.
Impressive. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I do write on Chop Chat with Kelvin Hunt.
That's my guy, man. Kelvin's my guy.
And we've wrote a lot about different factors. And one of the bold prediction articles that I had recently in the offseason was that I thought AZ was going to be that number 2 corner before the season ended, kind of like a Marion Cooper type of role, emerging a little bit later and kind of getting that there. My thought process was he was going to take over for Cypress. And I definitely think that's still a possibility in that regard. I think he's done a really good job in being efficient in what he does. I think he's very versatile. I think you can even play a little bit more rover safety if he needs to. I definitely think there is a possibility that he can be all over the defense if you let him. So I am super impressed. I think his potential is through the roof at this point, and I definitely think he can bring another dimension to what this defense is.
Okay, I like hearing stuff like that. A lot of people tell me AZ sucks. I don't know where they get that from, but
no, I don't think so.
I don't think that. I don't know I don't think the secondary as a whole has played well. So
no, I don't. I don't either. I think there is definitely work to be done on that aspect. But Surtain he's a younger coach.
Well, he's got his he's got to get his guy. Remember, are any of those guys his guys? He's got to get his guys in there, and he's got to go from there.
We also clamored about Dugans, and you saw what happened with Dugans guys in there. So
right, you're absolutely right. Remember, we had one of the worst receiving cores. No, you're absolutely right. Dugans at one point couldn't recruit, and we had a terrible receiving core.
Yep.
And it almost flipped overnight. So
Odell got some criticism.
Well, the thing about Odell is, and my criticism stand, but he's still a hell of a coach. So I'm not gonna knock him for being he's getting the most out of what he has.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he's a great recruiter anymore.
But he's no longer the recruiter that he once was.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he has a smartphone at this point. I'm just being quite honest. I mean,
he still got a BlackBerry. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
It's just not his style anymore. He understands his role in this team at this point. Not saying he will not recruit, because he will go meet the families and develop those relationships, but just as a young man's game with a lot of these different prospects that are wanting this and that and this and that, no, he's not one of those guys.
He's not playing those games. I mean, I get it. No. I mean, you may have 2
more years out of
that type of insight kind of makes it make sense. Like, Odell, being old school, isn't playing the new game.
Yep.
So it makes sense why he's not getting the new kids, right? But it can't take away what he does as far as an on-field coach, right? Same thing with Randy. I'll even give Randy that. Like Randy don't recruit well either. But our backers are our top 3 backers are playing good football.
So let me ask you this, and this is something that I've kind of wondered. So I think Adam Fuller is probably going to take a head coaching job somewhere at a Group of 5 school eventually down the road. I think it may be 2 or 3 years down the road.
That long?
It may be sooner. You don't know, but I mean, I don't think it happens after this season. I think it maybe 2 years down the road or something like that. But do you think that they would elevate Randy Shannon to that primary defense coordinator?
Now that I hope does not happen. I'm okay with Randy being a linebacker coach.
I was very confused.
I do not want, and I'm okay with him being the co-D coordinator.
I was very confused about that.
I do think he's helped Fuller, and Fuller's helped him. I think they go well off of each other. I've seen defenses coordinated by Randy. Yeah. I'll pass on that. If we're putting him in that role, then I will pass on Randy Shannon. And if Fuller leaves, go and get me somebody. I don't need I can't think of a coach currently that I want to like promote. Yeah. And I mean on the offensive side of the ball, you can do that because Mike Norvell is an offensive coach. Exactly. So basically anybody who you promote from the inside is doing nothing but what Mike tells them to do anyway. Yeah. I need another almost head coach type on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't want to promote from inside on that. Go get me somebody. Yeah. Rhonda might get fired at Baylor. Go get me him.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I like Fuller. I definitely think his defensive schemes are okay. His adjustments need work.
His adjustments at halftime are lights out. I think that's the biggest problem with Fuller, with the fans. Yeah. Speaking from a fan perspective, is in the first half, it's like, we're facing like mobile quarterbacks, and it's almost like we didn't prepare for. They kill us in the first half, and then come the second half, it's like we make all these adjustments, and it's like, well, why couldn't we do that in the first half? Why can't we put together 4 quarters of football? Why do we always have to put together 2 quarters on defense? Where in the first half we look like we're lost, in the second half Clemson only scores 7 points. Yep. And LSU only scores LSU didn't score in the second half against us until some garbage time stuff. Yep. Like that's the thing that makes me frustrated. And I turned the corner on Fuller, quite honestly. I was like, man, his numbers have increased every year. But then I watch and I'm like, but that's just my nitpicking on him personally.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying that Fuller is going to take a head coaching job right now. Don't really know if he's super interested in that. I know a lot of people speculate that, and I know he wants to have that role one day, potentially. But we'll definitely see how that goes. But, yeah, I think Fuller's fine. I know a lot of people have
I think the problem with Fuller, another thing, is just what some Florida stance are used to. Yeah. And some of us are used to, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I'm 35 years old. I know I don't look that. I got the baby face. I know I look about 25. But anyway, I'm 35 years old. I've watched Mickey. I've obviously watched Mark. I watched Pruitt. You're talking about like attacking type defenses.
You also watched Charles Kelly.
Exactly. And I watched Harlan Barnett. So I've watched some garbage too. So it's like Fuller, in some people's minds, maybe even mine, like he's more of that Charles Kelly, like bend and don't break. Like Boston College, how many 3rd and longs did they kill us with in that game? Yeah. And is that at what point do we like adjust to that? And it's just crazy to me, like against Clemson, we don't blitz the entire first half. Then come the second half, what do we start doing? And what's the results? So I don't understand sometimes that the play calling of Adam Fuller. I just sometimes I'm like, we know what works and we don't do it. And then when we do it, we see it work, and it's like, oh yeah, we can blitz. And
I'm a little bit confused, especially this weekend. Drones is a mobile quarterback that they have. He's kind of their backup quarterback at this point. 6'2", 230 pounds. I mean, he's very tough to bring down.
Hey, let's talk some Virginia Tech. Let's do that.
I mean, that's going to be a problem. If Florida State does not tackle efficiently in the open field, I think that's going to be a problem. Like, you cannot let Drones have his day. You can't. There's no way. I mean, I get people are like, Pittsburgh is an aggressive team. They're very physical at the point of attack. But that Pittsburgh team is not good either. Like,
No.
Dracovic is not a good quarterback.
No.
I don't know how many times I have to say that, how many years we have to go through being a quarterback. You can transfer to another location all you want to. Same thing as Brendan Armstrong. He's not a good quarterback
No,
either.
he's not. He's not either.
And everybody keeps saying, well, he's back with his offense coordinator at NC State. Doesn't really matter. He's not a good quarterback. But Drones is a guy that you have to bring down at an efficient level. If you do not, he's going to give you 45, 50 yards.
So how much have you watched? I'll be honest with you, because I said this the other night. I said this actually last night. I went live. Yeah. I haven't watched a lot of Virginia Tech. How much of Virginia Tech have you watched?
I've watched quite a bit, actually.
Really? So give me. So okay. So give me and the people, obviously, give us some insight on that.
I mean, Tootin, their running back, is a really physical back. He's really good. I like his speed and his skill set that he brings to the table. They have a outside receiver as well that they really like. I can't remember his name. Belton, I think is what his name is. He's kind of on the outside. They like him. Big body receiver. They got a linebacker on the defense side of the ball that they really like as well. He's kind of their leader, quarterback of the defense. They don't generate a ton of pressure. But Drones is the one that scares me the most. I think that's kind of the give or take. Their offensive line is not the greatest in the world either.
So would you say Drones is the offense? So if you can contain him,
pretty much
nothing else seems to be a worry.
Not really. I mean, because they have
how they look defensively.
They're okay. I mean, they're aggressive in certain aspects. You know, they can get to the quarterback if they need to.
That's Marv. That's a Marv coach defense over there.
Yeah, and linebacker play is actually pretty good for them. And we've known that Marv has got some linebacker development with everything. So just overall, though, I was kind of surprised they were not going to give up on the season. I thought they were going to have 4 straight losses at this point. I don't think they're a very good team. I think they're okay. They may go 5-7. I mean,
so is there any worry? Do you have any worry
about losing Saturday? No, not at all.
So do you have any worry about like another Boston College type game?
Nope.
So you think we win pretty comfortably, basically?
Yes. Castellanos is a guy that's very mobile, very quick, shifty, and we know we've recruited him out of high school. You know,
yeah, we did.
Running back, and I think Drones is a very physical runner that can get you a couple of those first downs. Like if it's 3rd and 5, he can get you that first down if you need to. And the defense has got to adjust to that. They're going to take a couple of shots there with some defenders. May even throw it to Felton a little bit later as a big body receiver. But just overall, this team does not scare me at all in terms of just being big playmakers. And unless guys just have busted coverages and you're missing tackles left and right, I just don't think this team has a chance to make it remotely close. And that's part of the reason why they're favored by 24 points.
Yeah, coming off a bye week, I don't think there should be much worry either. You are coming off that bye.
So, I mean, that's kind of how it is.
You said there'll be some what?
Some cobwebs. I definitely think there is. I mean,
think so? You think there'll be some cobwebs? I'm hoping they come out sharp, personally.
I would take if I was a betting person, which I bet quite a bit this past weekend and won. But overall, I mean, if I could take the Florida State first quarter under, if it's at like 13.5 or something, or like 9.5 or something like that, I would definitely probably go towards that. So I think it may be like 7-0, 7-3 at the end of the first quarter. So, and then we pick it up in the second quarter, kind of thing.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. So what's your score prediction there?
Personally, score prediction might be about 41-13. I think it's a good number.
I ain't mad at 41-13. We got this $5 super chat here from Melly Mel. It says, question for both. Do you see any upset losses in the top 10 this weekend? If so, let's hear your thoughts. Hey, Mel, I appreciate the $5, man.
The money goes into my piggy bank.
Go ahead and answer that first.
I would say Oklahoma, Texas. I'd say Oklahoma's got a pretty good chance in beating Texas this weekend.
You like Oklahoma in that?
I do.
A lot of people are picking Oklahoma. I'm rocking with the Longhorns. Hook 'em.
And I just
Now my upset is potential upset. I'm interested to see Maryland and Ohio State.
I am also with you on that one.
I know that game I think is in the horseshoe. I think.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State's at home, but I'm still interested in that game. I don't know how Ohio State has a great win against Notre Dame, but I don't know if they've looked that great to me. So I'm interested in that game.
I got a question. Do you think Louisville has a chance against Notre Dame?
They play this week?
Mm-hmm. And I believe it is at Louisville.
Yeah, I think I think I could argue Duke should have beat them.
Which screw that stadium in Louisville. They can go because I saw Tutu Atwell wide open so many times during that game. I didn't want to drive the 12-hour ride up there, but yeah, that was embarrassing.
Yeah. I think Louisville has a shot. It's not a knock on Notre Dame. I like their head coach.
Yeah.
So I do root for him, but Mind King says Louisville stinks. I don't know. I think Braum is a solid coach. And he's in Europe but I think Braum is a solid coach. I think and he's doing well in his first year. And I think once he gets his guys in there, I think Louisville might have something to say in the ACC going forward. It's possible.
So I know that Alabama's outside of the top 10, maybe 11 or 12. I don't know, whatever they are right now. Do you think Jimbo has a chance this weekend at home?
A&M has a chance because they're talented. And they do seem to be playing better ball than they were previously playing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say they don't win it, though, because even though Bama has problems offensively, Bama might have the best defense I've watched this year.
They're good.
I think Bama might have the best defense I've watched. So I don't think, especially with the quarterback being hurt, I know they're playing Max Johnson, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if Texas A&M is good. I think you're going to see a defensive battle there.
I will Stephanie's statement there. I am a huge fan of MJ Morris. As not a lot of people know, we've had a pretty good relationship with Florida State at one point. Big fan of Morris. Super happy for him. I definitely think he's going to do really good things at NC State.
Yeah, he should have been the starter from the jump, in my humble opinion.
But you know,
that's just me.
You got to go with experience. So I get it.
Yeah. So I think from the sounds of it, no worries about Virginia Tech. You really, is there a game you're worried about before Miami? Wake?
Yeah, and it's just because we haven't won there.
Right, just because we haven't beat them recently. But
I wasn't worried about Pitt before.
Pitt was the only reason why I was originally worried about Pitt was because it's before the Miami game. But I didn't foresee them being this terrible either. Like, Pitt's not good.
Yeah, if Duke gets their quarterback back, maybe, but it's a high ankle sprain. I just don't see him back before then.
Any worry about Syracuse?
Schrader scares me a little bit with just his running ability, but I can't underestimate his running ability because, we saw 200 yards rushing with him. He was running up and down the field. Gives me a little bit of PTSD on that one as well. So overall, I'm not super worried. I think North Carolina is going to handle business this weekend against them, and then you're going to kind of see Syracuse fall off the map like they did last year, starting off 5-0, and the next thing you know, they lose like 5 straight.
So what are you telling me? You telling me Florida State should book their tickets to Charlotte?
I took Florida State at a 10 over/under win total, and I was pretty confident they were going to get 11 wins this year.
Yeah, I had us going 11-1, and
and I thought that Clemson team was going to be more aggressive than what they were. I thought they were going to get the best of Florida State their first matchup, which almost happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought Will Shipley was going to be that factor in that game that just didn't happen in the second half.
I don't think they see Clemson again. I think they're too far behind.
I think Louisville is going to be in the ACC.
They would need too many people to lose for Clemson to get there. Like us and Duke would have to lose 3 ACC games for Clemson just to get a look.
Yeah.
And that's not good. We're not losing 3. I can't speak for Duke, but we're not losing 3.
Louisville's not losing 3.
I don't think Louisville's. I'm with you.
They don't play anybody. Like
they play Miami. That's it. And take from what you want from that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like they don't play Clemson. They don't play Florida State. I mean, they play Notre Dame, but I mean, they're not an ACC.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So, and they're not that good. I mean, they're an 8-4 football team, but they don't play anybody. So it's like you can be 8-4, even a 9-3 football team, and you're still gonna be 8-0 in conference.
Mm-hmm. No, I think
weird
final season. Well, not final season for the ACC. We'll see what happens with the ACC. I know who are we adding?
Cal, Stanford, and SMU.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
But we're adding them, and then the
which SMU is gonna potentially be better as a program. I think they're evolving as a better program, but Stanford and Cal.
I don't know how much you actually know about SMU. There was a time where SMU ran college football.
Yeah.
I know and then they got the death penalty because they were paying players and whatnot. Yeah. But that program is located in the heart of Dallas.
Yeah.
They got some money backing them if they ever, and we'll see what happens being in the ACC.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting.
Thought with that, like going to getting those 3 teams, I thought there was going to be a chance that Florida State, or not Florida State, but the ACC was going to go after James Madison. And I thought that would have been a better geographical fit as well as like an up-and-coming program. I thought there was a lot of different factors that you could have given. You've seen James Madison this season. They've been pretty solid. They've been a pretty solid Sun Belt team at this point. I think they could have been elevated to that ACC role. You could have got a couple more Group of 5 schools involved in that geographical location, elevated those schools up to getting more TV revenue. I mean, because Cal and Stanford does nothing TV revenue-wise. They're going to lose revenue. So why not take a chance on a Group of 5 school at that point?
Stanford's the only team.
Are we going to women's lacrosse?
Yeah, like Stanford's interesting just because they are prestigious university, but not because of like football, but because of everything else, because of just academics and what they are. I don't know, but we already have Duke for that, so I don't know. And Georgia Tech is also extremely.
And Wake.
Yeah,
I mean, you have some schools there. I mean, North Carolina's a good school as well. I mean, Florida State in its own right is a very good school. So I mean,
you're right.
That's kind of the thing. I mean, like I'm really pissed going all the way to California for this. So we have to have a road trip down
It's almost what I feel like they should. They should just add the remaining Pac-12 schools, and this way you can have a division set up on the West Coast, so you don't have to make those trips. Maybe 1 or 2 trips to the West Coast, and vice versa. Instead of you only have 2 teams over there, so there's going to be a lot of So I don't, especially those two West Coast teams are going to travel a lot.
Yeah, screw that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not also a fan of UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten. I don't think that makes much sense either. But I get it. I mean, everybody has to go and they can get planes and stuff like that. Yeah, App State was another one too that was
App State, ECU.
Yeah. There's a couple of schools you could have went to in that.
My only thing with that, and I know we're talking about like conference realignment. My only thing with that was with the ACC is kind of like you're adding, in comparison to what the SEC's been doing, where they add Texas and like SEC's adding major universities. Big Ten, man, we're talking about App State and ECU.
Yeah,
it's kind of like okay, solid programs, but that's not moving the needle in any aspect.
And I mean, a lot of people were talking about Notre Dame moving to the ACC. They're never going to do that.
They're not going to do that.
Never.
They're not going to do that.
You better come with the brink truck at that point. There was no way. Like
Notre Dame figured it out early. Like they don't need a conference.
No. And I mean, like I said, I know the Battle's End's done a tremendous job with Florida State so far and getting a lot of things done with Florida State, but they can't do it forever. If Florida State's continuing to get behind the 8 ball, $30 million a year, you're getting all this TV viewership, but you're not getting the fruits of your labor based off of that number. And I mean, it's just very frustrating.
Now FSU's going to leave. The question is not. Yeah, the question is not if. The question at this point is when.
Yep, exactly.
Is that a year from now, 2 years from now? Can they make something shake in the offseason? I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But I know Florida State. They got to them and Clemson have pretty much made it known that they are not going to continue to play, like you say, behind the 8 ball. Like, you can't compete. You can't compete.
No, I mean, Clemson and Florida State can do as much as they can, but I mean, at the end of the day, like 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to be so far behind that you're almost out. I mean, you might as well just own up to paying the grant of rights and getting out of there before 2036 because you're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a mess. It's a whole just weird, complicated mess that the ACC is trying to put themselves into to try to make themselves relevant. They're trying not to be like the Pac-12 and losing all their teams.
Pac-12 they have their own. Pac-12 should blame themselves for what happened to them. And it's crazy though because they have arguably the best conference in football this year. Like really good teams out there on the West Coast, and it's going away after this year.
Very funny.
And absolutely, it's absolutely crazy.
So we'll definitely see. I definitely think that the Pac-12 can probably add some Mountain West teams or something like that to keep themselves relevant. Be like the ACC strategy at this point, but just overall, does that move the needle for anybody? I mean, really, I don't know. I don't really think that really does a whole lot there.
I mean, Virginia Tech, you have to go into the game with faith, my man. Like, that's all that is. Blind faith. Blind faith.
Hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. Like, you just have to do what's best for you. And if you want to say that you're going to beat Florida State as a 24-point underdog, go right ahead. That is upsets happen.
Yeah, they've watched their team. They know what they have. But, of course, you got to go into every game with confidence. Every game with confidence. So, do you have anything else? I mean, feel free to ask.
That was about all I had on the docket and everything.
You hit all the recruiting points that I was extremely interested in. I know everybody was interested in all the recruiting. Yeah. Then we got into some Virginia Tech talk and just Florida State in general. I mean, exciting times.
I will ask this last thing before I head out. I know that Florida is playing this weekend against their arch rival, Vandy. What are your thought processes on if Vandy can keep it close? I know it's at Gainesville, so take it with a grain of salt. It's probably the only way Florida wins anything anymore. Do you think there's a chance? I
mean, they beat them last year. Now, I know last year doesn't mean anything this year, but
yeah.
Yeah, they got a chance. I don't know how big that chance is, but
it's the same thing with
the biggest issue with Florida is that they don't have an offense.
No.
And if you can't score, I don't know. I know Vandy's already lost to Wake, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. I don't know how Vandy looks. I mean, they're Vanderbilt. They might be good. They might be average.
Their offense is good.
I mean, yeah, they got a chance. God, I mean, if I'm a Gator fan, there's no if he loses this game, I'm asking for Billy's head.
Now listen, they have the Tiger King on there, so that has to amount to something, right?
We have the Tiger King. We have the real Tiger King.
I can't believe it.
We have the.
You're going to tell me that Murder Mertz is better than Jordan Travis?
I didn't know the guy was a Gator fan. I don't know if he's a real Gator fan or if he's just doing that because he feels like he's in prison. He's doing all of this in prison.
Wow.
He's doing all of this in prison, and and the crazy thing about it is Jordan Travis hasn't even responded, but he's tweeting at this guy every week.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. And then I had one more question for you. It was the Miami Georgia Tech game. With that, with
So
their raucous crowd that's going to be there this weekend.
So originally, I didn't really think Miami had too much to worry about. And for the most part, I still don't. I did not realize, however, that this game was right before the UNC game. And I got to think Miami's looking forward to the UNC game because they think they have a really good team this year. And UNC has been giving them the business the last few years. So I know they're looking forward to that game to prove that we can beat that team because they have to get over that hump if they want to get where they think they are. Is there a chance that they're sleeping on Georgia Tech and this game is a better game than we suspect? That's the only thing I'll say about Miami and Georgia Tech.
I will say this too, because if Miami and North Carolina win, I'm going to hate both of them because we're going to have to play Syracuse in a noon game. And that's going to suck.
Yeah, because that's going to be a primetime game, right?
Yeah, that's going to be rough. So we'll see. But, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Georgia Tech lost to Bowling Green last week.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, okay, Miami's going to run the – they're going to beat them. And
But
then I looked at the schedule and was like, okay, wait a minute.
I mean, they also beat Wake Forest. So,
yeah.
And
they also had like a 28-point quarter against Louisville where everybody was like, oh, Georgia Tech actually looks like a real football team. And then Louisville came and won that game. So, Georgia Tech has been a little bit all over the place. Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see if we get a good Georgia Tech or if we get the Bowling Green Georgia Tech. Either way, Miami better not look past them.
I agree. That's all I got, man. I just wanted to kind of get on there and talk about both of the rivals. So before I headed out, so
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Anytime. You're always welcome to come when I start coming back onto YouTube again.
Let me know. Let me know
again. So
I gotta get you. I get you and Kelvin on here at the same time. One of these days.
That's got to be, man. We've been grinding it out on articles and everything, so hopefully we'll get closer to the season and getting to the end, and we'll be 12-0 at that point. We'll be discussing about a hopefully national championship.
I'm hoping. So, I mean, I'll settle for the ACC title.
I would too.
But you get me to the playoffs, and all bets are off. I'm going for it all, but no.
Yeah, I'm being like a Miami fan on Twitter, and I'm telling elite lies. So that's gonna be so.
They do that even when they know they're garbage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then they'll be like, yeah, next year is our year. So, yeah. But, hey, the Cuban has got to have it some way. So, that's how it is.
But I appreciate you for coming on. I know I tried to get you on last week or whatever. So, I'm glad you were still open to coming on. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. If you need anything, just let me know. But, definitely hit the like button before he ends the stream today. And be sure to subscribe to his channel. He does a remarkable job on YouTube, and I can't be thankful enough for our relationship that we have so far. So,
hey, I appreciate all of that. Norvell Central, if y'all aren't going over there and subscribing and all of that, following him on his Instagrams and his Twitters or whatever that app is called now. I don't know. I still call it Twitter. It's like X.
Yeah.
Go follow Norvell Central, man. Go follow Norvell Central. And he has a YouTube channel, too. And he don't post nothing for some reason.
Yeah, hey, we're going to get back.
But go subscribe.
We're gonna get there, so I'm gonna start grinding again. We gotta get there eventually. But yeah, man, I appreciate it as always, and hopefully your chat has a pretty good night for the rest of the night, and hopefully we see a Miami and Florida State wins, and then we hope Miami and Florida kind of struggle a little bit at least. So we'll see.
Before you get out of here, I'm kind of hoping that November 11th game is like for all the marbles.
I've seen that slate of November 11th games, and I'm a little bit nervous about it potentially not being a game day. But
I don't even care about the game day.
Yeah.
I want that game to be something because I think I don't know. I feel a tide shifting in the state.
Yeah,
I really do. I think especially I don't think Jeremiah Smith ends up at Ohio State. Now, I don't know where he goes. Yeah. At this point, I'm almost convinced he does not end up at Ohio State.
Yeah,
and I think all of this plays into Florida, the Florida schools maybe getting there. Maybe I don't know about Florida, but say what you want about Cuban Jesus over there. And the season is still extremely early.
Yeah.
But at least they got over a hump in Texas A&M that I didn't think they would.
Yeah,
so you got to give him credit for that in year 2. maybe the Florida schools are actually starting to get their act together. And if that game can be a national prime time top 10 whatever matchup, I mean, I think that's huge for recruiting.
Yeah.
And maybe we see them twice. Like, I know Florida State fans hate that. You guys don't want to hear me say all that stuff about Miami, but I'm and mainly because I also bought tickets to that game. But I'm looking forward to that game.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, I definitely think if it's not Louisville, it's Miami. So
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll see. Definitely hit you up. We'll definitely have to do some more content and everything. So
Absolutely.
yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, champ. We're gonna whoop them, but I still want to see them like be undefeated. Then we can whoop them all day.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely got to whoop Miami. So, but yeah,
But I
man.
appreciate you, bro.
Of course, man. Have a good rest of your night, though, and chat. Have a great rest of your night as well. So we'll go from there.
All right, man. Stay safe.
All right, see you, man.
All right. Irv Gotti with the $5 $4.99 says supporting the channel. Keep up the good work. I got my tickets to the Wake game. Shout out to Irv.
Yeah, more money, more money.
How are we feeling tonight, y'all? I mean, I wanted to really get in here and talk about recruiting. And we talked about it. And what do we want to do? We still got, we're only an hour and 30 minutes in. I mean, I can go for a little bit longer. I can go for another 30. I can go for another hour. I don't know. How are we feeling? How are we feeling? It's Virginia Tech. Not a huge game coming up, but it is the game coming off of the bye week. Some questions to answer. Momo in the building. Chad Kinsler in the building. Jay says him and his parents are going to the Wake game. That's what's up. See a lot of people going to the Wake game. Irv going to the Wake game. Jay going to the Wake game. Y'all should holler at each other. Link up. I just got in 50 minutes ago. Give us a quick recap. Oh, man. Norvell Central talked about all that recruiting. Let me see. What can I remember from the recap? Basically, as far as this weekend goes, there's not really any 24 kids that you want to pay attention to, except for L.J. McCray. That's a kid that the name that everybody should know at this point. Defensive lineman. Maybe he's an interior guy. Maybe he's an edge guy. But that's probably the biggest name as far as the 2024 class goes. There's a bunch of 25 class guys and going to be there. And there's going to be a good amount of young men who are already committed to Florida State showing up. Some of the big names left on the board, Jamar Howard, Jeremiah Smith, and a few others. Ultimately, man, what we basically came away saying is the class you kind of see is kind of the class you're going to get when it's all said and done here. FSU kind of solidified that class in the summer. And they're going big game hunting down the stretch, and they may or may not add some of those guys. Obviously there's still some names that we know, the JoJo Traders and the Zaquan Pattersons. Those are interesting recruitments. We'll see what ultimately happens. But what you pretty much see now probably is what your class will be with the addition of a few guys. The question is, who are those guys going to be? Champs 99 says nobody in the ACC is beating FSU or North Carolina. So that will be the ACC championship game. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if North Carolina plays Clemson, but I can see Clemson beating North Carolina. I think North Carolina will play into Clemson's hands. But I don't know if they play or not. My assumption would be that if they're not playing us, they would at least be playing Clemson. Chad Kinsler also going to the weight game, man. It's going to be a party at the weight game. I'm worried about our total defense. Fuller mentioned playing a lot of freshmen coming up the second half of the season. Hopefully some people step up. Hopefully if we're playing the freshmen, it's because they earned it. That's what I hope. Look, man, Irv's talking about linking up, man. Y'all link up. We're giving up. Yeah, I know what we're giving up, bro. We're giving up some yards. The only defense to that is we have had second halves. I mean, LSU in the second half. I mean, we came out killing them by midway through the fourth quarter. We were playing the backups against LSU. Southern Miss, we were playing backups, by the third quarter on defense. So that's the main defense I'll have. That some of that number is skewed. No problem, Irv. I always got you. Miami might beat UNC. I got to see it to believe it, but obviously, yeah, Miami might beat UNC. I definitely got to see it to believe it. I agree with that. Duke's not the same team. I want to see Hussey and Nicholson more. I want to see Hussey a lot more. I think we can afford not to rush Blake. But I need Hussey on the field, man. We need to stop subbing so much on the defense. We did the same thing with Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton on offense, and we saw how that went. All defense has to give up less points than we score. Defense will be fine, except for number 3. Boxing Monster is not a fan of number 3. DNs need to get some sacks. UNC will slip up, like always. Now that Duke QB is probably out, I see Miami, maybe Louisville. UNC beats Miami. And the last game I went to, weight game versus FSU in Winston, when 99 championship team blew them out. Bro, that's over 20 years ago, Chad. What took you so long to get back to the weight games? $20 years ago, or over 20 years ago. I'm looking at some of these messages I just got. I traveled to the FSU whole games a lot and moved. Oh, gotcha. What's up, brother Brooklyn? How you doing? Good to see you. So, man, hit the like button. Again, subscribe if you're new. Share the video. Still got a solid crowd in here. That's why I'm still kind of going a little strong. Still got a solid crowd in here. So I'm answering all questions, whatever y'all got for me. I don't really have anything specific. Again, we talked about everything. I picked a hell of a night to go live, though, because I'm looking at all these people live right now. Uncle Lou is live. Spiratics was just live. The Nolecast is live. So probably some of y'all probably dipping in over there. So I chose a hell of a time to go live. That's okay. How's life, man? I'm kicking. I ain't mad at nothing. I'm living it. I appreciate you for asking, though. Hit that like button. Is Dent back? He practiced this week. I know that for sure. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to play, but I do know he was practicing this week. You could make an argument that I don't know if this is a game that you need to put Dent out there. But Dent is back. Speaking of Atlanta, you think Georgia Tech would be a better program in terms of sports? The academics is so high, though. But I agree with you. I've always kind of looked at Georgia Tech as a slight sleeper. Just they're in the heart of Atlanta, bro. But they're also, academics is fairly high. I actually do. I actually think Trey Benson will have a breakout game this week. He's my offensive like MVP or MVP prediction. I think, I think Trey Benson's gonna have a pretty decent game. So I do think that the running game will break out this week. I do. Sporadics says I go live Monday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Hey man, I'm just saying everybody was live tonight. I don't, other than Wednesdays, man, I don't really have a set schedule for me. I do my Wednesdays, my Wednesday shtick. Outside of that, I'm like a what the Joker say? I'm like a dog chasing a car. I wouldn't know what to do if I caught it. I just do. I just do. Irv thinks we're losing to the Gators. The Swamp game is going to be their Super Bowl. Billy better hope he hasn't lost that team by then. So I can't co-sign that. Whether or not it's going to be their Super Bowl is irrelevant if you've lost the team. No, sir, not me. Missed the stream. It's okay. Stream's still going, bro. We only an hour and 38 into it, so the stream's still going. Dick Butkus did die today. Rest in peace, absolutely. Or rest in power. What do you think the running back situation and what they need to do, because they've been absent recently, and that what gets our offense going? Okay, solid question here, sort of an in-depth type question here. Ultimately, bruh, the running back position is ton of talent in that room, ton of talent. The problem I see in the running back room is we don't have the change of pace that we had with Trayshawn Ward. Go watch every game. If Trayshawn Ward struggled, then we had an answer because Trey Benson was a different type of running back. When Benson struggled, we had an answer because Trayshawn Ward was a different type of running back. The problem is not that much differentiates what we can currently have, I think. I think there have been holes there, and they're not seeing them. I also think we've been more focused on throwing the ball at certain points, and that we're not quite feeding the hot hand when we have one. We haven't allowed running backs to really get into a rhythm. So I think the running game is a totality of things. I really do. I think it's a totality of things. Not just one specific. Like I can't put it all on Trey, right? I can't put it all on whatever. I think it's a totality of things. I agree with Buck. Who are you and where is Irv? Like, what are we talking about here? Losing to the Gators. And that pretty much just answered this question just now, Melly Mel. I mean, I didn't read the comment before I made that long. What's that word Stephen A uses? Soliloquy. But yeah, I do. We miss Trayshawn Ward. I mean, through the entire year last year, I kept telling people like Trey Benson's a physical specimen, but Trayshawn Ward is the better running back, and I don't think much has changed between then and now. I had us losing one game too. The problem is we've already beaten the team I thought we would lose to. So now I understand where you're going, right? It's Florida, it's the swamp. The problem is I want you to look at the team, Irv. You think Florida State can beat Jaden Daniels and lose to Graham Mertz? Like that's where you think Graham Mertz can make enough plays to beat FSU? That's where it boils down for me. Do you think Graham Mertz makes enough plays to beat the Seminoles? Because I do not. I absolutely do not believe that is the case. R.A. Nixon. First of all, I didn't snitch on him. I just know he was lying about playing kickball. But yeah, T's doing good. T's all right. He's still alive. Yeah. Has ETN been that good this year? They haven't really been able to run the ball like that. Pearsall's okay. That's cool. But Pearsall ain't. Can Mertz get Pearsall the ball? So, again, is Pearsall going to make the plays? Is Mertz going to make the plays to win the game? I don't believe so. Somebody's got to get these guys the ball. That O-line isn't the same O-line they had last year. I don't think their O-line can handle our D-line this year. I hear why. I understand on the surface why Irv has the feeling. I just don't see it from a football standpoint. I don't think Florida does anything better. I don't think Florida does anything that negates FSU's strengths.
That's what he's not. No, he's asking to go to ice cream car. Like we went to before.
Do you think LT not taking that step has hurt us in the run game in terms of running ability? I think LT, if you watched him, he's never been. LT is not that type. You know who LT reminds me of? A guy that plays for the Buffalo Bills and James Cook. That's who he reminds me of. Is James Cook a 30 carry guy? I'm not even sure James Cook is a 20-plus carry guy at most times. You use him in a lot of different ways. He can receive. He's a Swiss Army knife. LT is like that. I think that's why you go out and you get a Keziah Holmes, right? And you get these guys in the portal because I think LT's a different weapon. I don't think they were ever counting on LT being like the lead back. So in my opinion, no, I don't think it hurts us because I don't think they ever were counting on Toafili to be the next in the lineage of Dalvin Cook and Cam Akers and potentially, Trayshawn Ward and Trey Benson and Jayshawn Corbin. Like I don't ever think they were looking at him being in that lead back role. I think they always looked at him as being a guy who we can do so much different things with as a weapon. Brother Brooklyn says for him it's Wake. Only because of the most outlandish scenario where I can see something. Wake is a team that, if we talk about, to be fair, if we talk about these other teams and we talk about getting over the hump, Wake's a game that you got to get over the hump. Wake's a game that you got to get over the hump. I still don't think we played a good game. I agree with that. I don't think we played a good game either. And that's why coming off of a bye week, my expectation is that we play our best entire game of the year. That's my expectation. That's what I want to see. I don't know if I'm going to see it, but that's what I want to see. I want to see Darrell Jackson play. That we all would like to see. Add him to that rotation. And then UF is going to do their best. Charlo. Bro, don't even get me started on that dude. Listen, man, I was for any of my boxing heads out there, if you're not into boxing, you can tune me out real quick. I'm not going to go too long on this. But if you watch that Jermell Charlo, Canelo Alvarez fight, I don't understand how you talk so much trash leading up to a fight and get in the ring and don't throw a punch. I know what it was. I just don't understand how you can live with yourself. But I get it. Anybody who gets in the ring with Canelo gets a payday. So I get it. I'm sure they'll try. I'm sure they'll try. I definitely am sure that I'm sure they'll try. I don't think it would be smart to fire Billy just yet. Who you want to see in the secondary moving forward if you don't want to see Knowles? I mean, I want to see Hussey eventually. I've also said I think he'd be better suited playing AZ as a starting safety, but that's just me. You have some options. Kirkland, but is Kirkland healthy? Can he stay healthy? So, there's bodies. It's just outside of the starters, everything's so young. It's a huge drop off from what you got on the field to what's coming off the field, or what's coming off the bench. I'm okay with what I see. I'm okay with a combination of, as long as Jarian stays at nickel, I'm okay with Cypress, Ronaldo, and AZ maybe as your outside guys. Getting Dent back's going to help your safety position. I need Shaheem to play better. You still got Knowles and Greedy. Like, if we can get Conrad Hussey up to speed, Ashland Baker, Barker, whatever his name, we got guys, man. I don't know. To answer that question, ultimately, I said all that to say I'm not sure who I want to see. I just want them to figure it out. Charlo knew what it was, man. Charlo, pathetic. Even if you knew what it was, try. So what? You get knocked out. Try. But whatever. Wake is personal. They've been the most vocal off season during realignment. He ran and got stalked all night. Is AZ a good tackler to play safety? I don't know. Is he? I don't know. We miss Jamie. We do miss Jamie. I think AZ is a safety next year. I would move a light backer to safety. Hell, at this point, I would try Nicholson. Anyone but 3. I don't consider any of this bitching, by the way. I don't consider any of this like complaining. Just speaking on improvements isn't complaining. I understand what you're saying, though, and I don't disagree with it. I don't consider that this, though. I'm not saying we trash. I'm saying the things that I would like to see going forward. I think you have to acknowledge, even as 4-0. I mean, we were 4-0 last year, but you have to acknowledge there's always improvements. And we watch this team every week. We know the things they need to improve on. Any worries about KJ since he's doing a few visits? I mean, I don't think you should worry about. First of all, I don't think you should worry about any of. First of all, save your sanity as a college football fan. These kids are going to take their visits. Charles Lester was at Florida, I think, a couple weeks ago. KJ was at Auburn last week. These kids are going to visit places. You might not like it. I know we all want to believe that once they commit, they're commit. Look, save your sanity and don't worry about it. Save your sanity and don't worry about it. It'll be interesting to see how we do after Jordan Travis leaves and how we adjust for the future. It's the quarterback competition after JT is going to be. It's going to be key. The quarterback position is going to be key. It's going to be a very interesting quarterback. It's going to be a very interesting quarterback battle when it's all said and done. Definitely a very interesting quarterback battle. We got a few more comments in me, and then we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Speaking of recruitments, let's talk about. Hey, I talked about that with Norvell Central. And there are some targets out there, but We'll see. We'll see if we land any of them. KJ doing what KJ do. Yeah, I mean that's what these kids are going to do. What they do at the end of the day. Trying to stop an 18-year-old from taking visits only pushes them away. Right. Once you can't. I mean, we can't do what. You can't do what Dabo thinks. Like, Dabo's like, once you committed to me, you're not allowed to take visits. Or, bro, them kids ain't trying to hear that. That's why Dabo in the situation he in right now, because of recruiting like that. So, yeah. I mean, you got the Hunter situation, but Hunter wasn't the first to do what he did. It was just magnified because it was Jackson State. If it had been Georgia, that wouldn't have been that big of a deal, you know. Happens, man. I don't know if y'all are aware of a recruitment by the name of Dante Fowler and how he did Florida State come signing day and ended up going to Florida. Like, man, kids been playing these games for a long time. Kids been playing these games for a long time. This isn't anything new. Tate knows how to spread the ball around. Do you think Mike will entertain a QB from the portal? I don't think he should. But then again, I don't watch these quarterbacks every day in practice, so I don't know what he's watching. I think it speaks to, if he does, I think it speaks to the state of the room. Because theoretically, by the numbers, he shouldn't need to. You're going to have another loaded quarterback room next year. Even with JT leaving, let's assume a guy, we don't know who, but let's say one of the guys transfer out. That's still a 3-man room with whoever, and Luke Coleman. So, yeah, I don't think we should, but also, again, I'm not watching those quarterbacks. If they watch them in an offseason and go, no one's taking that step that we need them to take, they may very well. But I don't think they should. I don't think we can say that. Right? I don't think we can say that, but I understand why people say that. I think, again, you got to take that junk with a grain of salt. We watched Brock in there against the walk-ons. We watched AJ go against the second-team defense. There's levels to it. There's different levels to it. So while everybody's giving Duffy, all this heat, if we're strictly talking about the spring, because when else have you seen him? You haven't seen him any time else. I mean, you saw him against two different caliber of opponents. The walk-ons and the second-string guys aren't the same. So, we've been trying to kick AJ off. I don't know why we've been trying to kick Duffy off the team this long. But it is what it is. I don't think right now I'm ready to say that. Let me see Brock go against the second-team defense, and then we can have a different conversation. No, I don't. Just me, though. I do not think that is going to happen. It's also be interesting to see how Dion does after the season. His sons leave. I don't think he'll be there, but that's just my opinion. And the transfers he got are older as well. I think he comes to coach in the South. I don't know what school, though. Fans already kicking AJ off the team. Tate beat Louisville. I guess we got to roll with them. You never hear about Duffy doing nothing. It's always Brock you hear about, but I'm no insider. Yeah, because we get infatuated with the new toys. That's why. You didn't hear about Darian Williamson doing anything either during the offseason. What'd you hear about? Vendravius Jacobs and all the new toys we got. It's just the habit. We focus on the new thing. And we hype it up. Every time we get a new player, it's hype. And they'll tell you that, people told me Ashland Baker was running a 4.3 or whatever they claimed he was running. Now, I watched the guy play, and I don't see that. We hype up the new toy, and then the new toy gets in there, and then we realize, the new toy ain't too different than what we already got. Let's just chill. FSU beat pushes narratives. Yeah, I mean, the same FSU beat, if y'all don't remember, told you Jordan Travis couldn't throw the ball 9 yards. The same FSU beat that loves him right now, they're the same ones that told you Jordan Travis couldn't throw. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't got better. Obviously, Jordan Travis has gotten better. But from day one, he never showed you that he couldn't throw. So, narratives definitely get pushed. Narratives definitely get pushed. I'm not saying Duffy's better than Tate or Tate is better than Duffy or Glenn is better than Duffy. What I'm saying is we don't know. And I don't think you can judge that off of what these people tell you. And I don't think you can judge that off of a spring game. But I don't know. We got to get LJ McCray. Yeah, we got to get a couple of them guys on the defensive side of the defensive line. I don't know if we're going to get them, though. So, yeah, man, I think, again, I know we love the new stuff, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right. What's up, Jeff? You missed about 2 hours because I'm about to head up on out of here right now. So please go watch the playback. And Tate can't be our starter next year. I think we all know he's just a backup. JT took PDs. We have a lot of recruits coming, and I have a bad feeling. Wow. Briley usually doesn't feel that way. What is in the air with y'all tonight? Someone else said they were worried about this game. I don't know. If this is the team, listen, y'all, I don't know what to tell you. If this is the team y'all say we are, if this is the coach y'all say we got, I don't know why we worried about this Virginia Tech team that is one-dimensional. Like, I don't know, man. You say triple option. Okay, so we not going to score? Like, okay, let's assume that the triple option does give us fits. We can't score? They can hold Johnny and Keon in our run game? Is that the case? I don't know, man. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. I don't know. John Shields, how you doing? I don't know. They think Tech is a legit team or something. I don't know. Maybe they say matchups make fights, and they don't think this is a favorable matchup. Insane says the fans are scared of success. Only thing that worries me is this mobile quarterback. Look, bro, we looked up his stats. I mean, look, I get he's mobile, but the dude's having 20 carries for 80 yards in these games. Like, it's not like he's going for 150. We'll see Saturday. I don't see a situation where I am like panicking or anything. And I don't want to say y'all are panicking. I just bad feeling. I don't know. So 35-28. That's obviously doesn't say a lot of good things about to recruits. But my answer to you, Briley, if that's the case, I'm gonna highlight your comment because to me, if that's the case, then you have to look in the mirror. And some of these coaches that y'all defend and y'all say these coaches are what X, Y, and Z. if that's what you're telling me is going to happen, 35-28, that's a coaching problem, not a player problem. That's a scheme problem. You're concerned about a triple option. Well, I mean, defensively, they don't scout. They don't know what we're going into and what we're getting into in this Virginia Tech game. If you can't prepare them for it, maybe you shouldn't be coaching defense at FSU. Like that's just how I look at it. That's why I don't get worried about it. Because for me, it's like you either gonna prove that you're supposed to be here, or you're gonna prove that you need to go elsewhere. But yeah, I don't think this is a game to worry about. But I mean, it's Virginia Tech, but we're home. Like I don't know. I'm not saying we lose. I'm just saying only thing I'm worried about is this QB. Yeah, I get you. I don't think he's like the explosive runner. I haven't watched him, but I'm gonna get a chance to watch him. I don't know, is he explosive or he's just 6'2", 230 and can churn out some yards? Like I don't know if this guy's explosive to the point where I'm worrying about that. Bro, are they? Virginia Tech again? I haven't watched Virginia Tech. They're not running what they legit running what Georgia Tech ran under your boy. I forget his name, but they're running 3 running backs in the backfield. I mean, the numbers don't say they run a triple option. They're throwing the ball. I'm not gonna go into the numbers again. Like, we'll see. We'll see. I hope he uses whoever's open, Jay. I don't care if it's a slot guy, tight end, whatever. I just hope he uses whoever. If you're open, get him the ball. Don't force the issue. Throw the ball to the open man. That's what I hope. So I don't care if it's a slot. I don't care who it is. Just throw it to the open guy. Don't force the issue. Vontae says he plays like DJU to him. Mike Vick not walk through the door. I mean, I already gave my score. 45-17. Bro, number 3, don't ruin your whole defense, man. Stop it. Stop it. But with all that said, y'all, I'm going to get on up and get on out of here. Hit that like button on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. But ultimately, y'all know the deal. Share the video as we continue. We're over 2,000 subscribers now. So we doing our thing. Look, if, I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you not to be worried about Virginia Tech. I have not watched a lot of Virginia Tech. So I'm not aware of the style and if it's going to give us fits. On paper, doesn't look like a game you should be worried about, but we'll see what happens. But that's what we got, man. We got Virginia Tech. So I think we're in for a solid outing. And I will catch you guys probably not tomorrow night, but I will catch y'all Saturday evening after. I think it's a 3:00 game this weekend. So, yeah, I'll see y'all Saturday evening after Florida State, Virginia Tech. And hopefully we're talking about a win. And hopefully we're talking about a win again, like a big-time win. We should not struggle in this game. If you struggle in this game, let's just keep it a buck. You got to rethink possibly what the season entails for you. But at the end of the day, y'all stay classy, Seminoles. I think we're worrying too much. We'll be fine. Should be a big win this weekend. But y'all stay classy, Seminoles, and we are out here going on.